Shalom. I want to start off by giving all praise, honor, and glory due to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakah HaKodash. I'd like to give double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, all that is true from, and I'd like to say peace and salutations unto the hopefully elect. And yet again, I'm going to another article. Missile Mondays. It's June 12, 2023. So I'm just going to go into this article. And it's from the AP News, and it says, Watchdog, nuclear state, Watchdog, nuclear states modernize their weapons. Chinese arsenal is growing. So, I'm just going to read this article and bring out a few scriptures. Lord willing, this lesson is edifying and straight to the point. And it says, the 9 nuclear-armed states continue to modernize their arsenals, and several deployed new nuclear-armed or nuclear-capable weapon systems in 2022. A Swedish think tank said Monday, we are drifting into one of the most dangerous periods in human history, said Dan Smith, director of the Stockholm International Peace Research Institute, or SIPRI. It is imperative that the world's governments find ways to cooperate in order to calm geopolitical tensions, slow arms races, and deal with the worsening consequences of environmental breakdown and rising world hunger, he said in a statement. SIPRI estimated that of the total global inventory of 12,512 warheads in January 2023, some 9,576 were in military stockpiles for potential use, which was 86 more than January 2022. The Independent Institute listed the nuclear-armed states as the United States, Russia, the United Kingdom, France, China, India, Pakistan, North Korea, and Israel. And it says, in his yearbook, the Swedish watchdog wrote that the United States and Russia each hold more than 1,000 warheads previously retired from military service, which they are gradually dismantling. As for China, SIPRI and the size of country's nuclear arsenal had increased from 350 warheads in January 2022 to 410 in January 2023, and it is expected to keep growing. Depending on how it decides to structure its forces, China could potentially have at least as many intercontinental ballistic missiles as either the U.S. or Russia by the turn of the decade, SIPRI wrote. The Institute said that the nuclear arms control and disarmament diplomacy had suffered major setbacks following Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine in February 2022. Washington suspended its bilateral strategic stability dialogue with Russia, and Moscow announced in February that it was suspending its participation in the New START of nuclear treaty, allowing inspections of weapon sites and providing information on the placement of intercontinental and submarine-based ballistic missiles, and their test launches are critical components of New START, which U.S. President Barack Obama and Russia's Dmitry Medvedev signed in 2010. Nevertheless, by CIPRI's assignment or assessment, both countries deployed strategic nuclear forces remained within the New START limits limits as of January 2023. And yes, China is pretty much ramping up their arsenal as well. And as you can see, the states that pretty much, also have, nuclear missiles, and pretty much, there are other there are other countries, that have nuclear, weapons, but these are pretty much the main countries as of now, primarily Russia, China, the US, and, France. I said France, lucky I meant to say, the UK, but primarily, Russia and China, not Russia and China, Slovakia, I'm getting, mixed up, but Russia and the US pretty much have the most, nuclear warheads, but China's pretty much trying to catch up, to them. But, again, World War III is inevitable, it's going to happen. And these countries that are pretty much gearing up their, nuclear arsenal, such as China and North Korea, ultimately they're going to help, destroy Babylon the Great. Primarily it's going to be Russia, but also these other countries are going to, help destroy America, and even America's allies are going to turn on her, So again, as always, I'm going to start in the book of Isaiah chapter 54 and verse 16, and it says, Behold, I have created the smith that bloweth coals in the fire, and that bringeth forth an instrument for his work, and I have created the waster to destroy. And yes, again, that waster being these ICBM missiles, because this was going to be used during World War III. Now, yes, on a lower scale, you're still going to have people, on the ground, hand-to-hand combat, or, using weapons, but ultimately, this war is going to be fought with nuclear capabilities, It's like, yeah. It's the book of Isaiah chapter 9 and verse 5, and it says, For every battle of the warrior is with confused noise and the garments rolled in blood, but this shall be with burning and fuel of fire. And yes, this is pretty much explaining how this last war is going to be fought, with fire, which is going to be by way of these ICBM missiles, because again, all wars, previous to World War I and II, were fought with, hand-to-hand combat, swords, spears, bow and arrows, shields, things of such. But again, people aren't going to have to, ultimately, they aren't going to have to, do hand-to-hand combat, because this is how they're going to fight this war. Slovakia with these missiles, and this is, Esau Edom's blessing, ultimately the sword, because the same way he came into power is the same way he's going to be taken out of power, And then, me and my brother was talking about this, this past Saturday after camp, because again, ultimately Esau Edom, he thinks he's going to achieve his New World Order, but ultimately the Lord is only going to let him get so far before he ultimately fails, This is the book of Job, chapter 20. I'm going to start at verse 22, and it says, "In the fullness of his sufficiency he shall be in straits. Every hand of the wicked shall come upon him. When he is about to fill his belly, Yahweh shall cast the fury of his wrath upon him, and shall rain it upon him while he is eating. He shall flee from the iron weapon, and the bow of steel shall strike him through. It is drawn and cometh out of the body, yea, the glittering sword cometh out of his gall, terrors are upon him." And yes, this is describing how Esau Edom is going to be taken out, by that iron weapon and that glittering spear. It's like in that iron weapon and glittering sword, that bow of steel, again, being those missiles, because America is going to be wiped out by these missiles. Nothing is going to be left, And then I'm going to go to the book of Revelation, Revelation chapter 9. I'm going to start at 15, and it says, "And the 4 angels were loosed, which were prepared for an hour and a day and a month and a year, for to slay the third part of men." Yes, you have 3 classes of men. You have the sons of God, the Israelites, the sons of men, the other heathen nations, and the sons of the wicked being, Esau, Edom, these so-called white people, because ultimately that's who's, going to be taken out of power, because right now, this is going to be their final rulership, because once Esau gets taken down, he's never going to rule the earth again, Verse 16, "And the number of the army of the horsemen were 200,000, and I heard the number of them. And thus I saw the horses in the vision, and them that sat on them, having breastplates of fire and of jacinth and brimstone, and the heads of the horses were as the heads of lions, and out of their mouths issued fire and smoke and brimstone. By these was the third part of men killed, by the fire and by the smoke and by the brimstone, which issued out of their mouths, for their power is in their mouth, and their tails, and in their tails, for their tails were like unto serpents, and had heads, and with them they do hurt." And yes, again, it's describing those who are heads, because once these missiles are launched, they're going to be launched into space. Excuse me, Slakia. These missiles are going to be launched into space, out of the ozone layer. And, each of these warheads have a specific target. So once they're launched, they're going to, pretty much get their exact coordinates. And then they're going to return to Earth, and they're going to be traveling so fast that they're going to be, they're going to come back down to the Earth on fire, So that's why what verse 16, not 16, verse 17, well, 16 as well, but verse 17 is describing them as having heads as lions, because again, we know that a male lion has a mane, a big mane, but again, these warheads coming back down, to the earth, they're going to be on fire, because they're going to be traveling so fast, at a high rate of speed. And even then, I've done, videos on it, but these missiles are going to be traveling so fast that, just one hypersonic missile can travel around the world and just 15 minutes at the least, 30 minutes at the most, and that's fast. And that's how long it's going to take these missiles to get here, at least 30 minutes, maybe even 15, because they're going to be traveling extremely fast, and this is pretty much going to be the judgment of, the wicked and those that worship, Esau, Edom, and pretty much receive this mark, which is the RFID chip. People's judgment are going to be, thermonuclear fire. Before I grab that, I'm going to go to the book of Zechariah, chapter 14, and verse 12. And this is exactly how hot these missiles are going to burn as well. Because again, they're going to burn hotter than the sun. The sun is 15 million degrees Celsius. These ICBM missiles are going to be burning at 100 million degrees Celsius, So that should tell you something. That the Lord's Spirit is going to be in these missiles, The Lord's, like, people are going to feel the Lord's wrath. And Lord willing, those of us that are called, Lord willing, we be the chosen as well, Because again, what I'm getting ready to read is just describing how terrible, this particular judgment is going to be, This is the book of Zechariah, chapter 14, and verse 12, and it says, "And this shall be the plague wherewith the Lord will smite all the people that have fought against Jerusalem. Their flesh shall consume away while they stand upon their feet, and their eyes shall consume away in their holes, and their tongue shall consume away in their mouth." And yes, that fire is going to be so hot, people are literally, going to melt, just like on Terminator 2, the scene where Sarah Connor had that dream where she was pretty much being burned alive by missiles, The only thing is, she's not just going to be, holding on to the fence. That fence is going to be melted as well. Everything, it's going to be melted. Matter of fact, I'm going to bring that out as well. Because again, it's describing how hot it's going to be, that people, they're going to melt while they're on their feet. And, the Lord is going to keep, these people's spirit in them for who knows how long. Because, being burned alive is not a quick death, It's slow and it's horrible, And this is the book of 2 Peter, chapter 3, and verse 10. And it says, "But the day of the Lord will come as a thief in the night, in the which the heavens shall pass away with a great noise, and the elements shall melt with fervent heat. The earth also and the works therein shall be burned up with fire." Even if that's not the exact number, there's going to be, just about an innumerable amount of missiles, warheads in particular, that are going to hit this land, It has to be destroyed for it to be peace throughout the entire world, Esau will be taken down, or, no flesh will remain. And this is the book of Revelation, chapter 19 and verse 20. And it says, "And the beast was taken, and with him the false prophet that wrought miracles before him, with which he deceived them that had received the mark of the beast, and them that had worshipped, and them that worshipped his image. These both were cast alive into a lake of fire burning with brimstone. Now, yes, that's not talking about, hell. Hell, is going into Greek mythology, because that word hell has multiple meanings. Hell could be talking about, a condition, a low estate. Because, when somebody's pretty much going through tough times, usually they say, I'm catching hell. Well, ultimately, that's what that's talking about, either a low condition or, ultimately, hell is the grave, It's not actually talking about a place that's under the earth that's burning where, Satan and the demons are. Like, no, that's false. There's no such place. Then I'm going to go to the book of Revelation, chapter 20, verse 14. And it says, "And death and hell were cast into the lake of fire. This is the second death." Verse 15, "And whosoever was not found in the book of life was cast into the lake of fire." So yes, this is going to be the second death. This is going to be that second major judgment, that the Lord is going to bring upon the earth. That first, the first death, the first judgment on a mass scale was when, the Lord, Yahweh, flooded the earth with water, and only saved Noah, and his family. But ultimately, during this time, is going to be a way worse judgment, Only difference is that the Lord won't destroy the entire earth, because he flooded the entire earth during Noah's time. The Lord made a covenant with Noah, with the rainbow, that, he wouldn't destroy the earth with water anymore, but also that rainbow also symbolizes, those missiles, because it's in an arch-like fashion, because that's exactly what those missiles are going to do. They're going to be launched out of the silos, be launched into space, and come back down to the earth, That's the Lord letting Noah know that he wasn't, destroy the earth with water, but with fire, and that's exactly what the Lord is going to bring upon this earth. He is coming with fire, to judge this wicked nation, the Edomites, the 2/3 of the nation of Israel, and these other heathen nations that are still in this land, or any other land, primarily here in America, but any other land that is slated to get hit, with those missiles. So, Lord willing, this lesson was edifying. I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Ba'ashem, Rakah HaKodash. I like to give double honors unto the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, who I learned this truth from, and I like to say peace and salutations unto the hopefully elect. Till the next time I say Shalom.